On countless occasions, the bravery of RAF air crews has turned the tide for hard-pressed troops below. But on the ground, the men of the RAF Regiment have also proved their skill and courage. The regiment's job of protecting air bases involves flushing out attackers and patrolling for hundreds of square miles. On the evening of the 7th of August 2007, 40 men from the regiment's 1 squadron were on a hearts and minds mission to the village of Al-Waki, a few miles north of Basra Air Station. When they came under attack from about 50 insurgents on the rooftops, it turned into the first major battle fought by one of the regiment's foot patrols in Iraq.
As we patrolled round the back of the houses, we suddenly just got hit by every rooftop going. I think there was about 6 contact points actually, 6 gunmen firing in on us, and obviously we got caught then, we got ambushed.
When the first shots were fired, I and my command group were actually in the middle of the market, and I had just been handed a melon by one of the stall holders, so things were pretty friendly. And a wedding party went through the market at that point, and some of the locals said, "Oh, don't worry, it's shots being fired in celebration from the wedding." So there's a few moments where we weren't certain what was going on, but then as soon as I heard on the radio, "Man down," I knew that one of my blokes had been hit, and this was a genuine enemy contact.
A corporal had been shot in the leg and was evacuated. But then B Flight, who were deeper into the village, suffered the squadron's 2nd casualty, leading aircraftman Martin Beard.
We did dreaded man down, and at this point we found out Beardy had been shot. And that's all I could hear, like, Beardy's been hit. Dave, seriously, Beardy's been hit. There was a bit of a gap, I would say about 4 metre gap, and as I went to run across it, you know, you could see the floor was jumping. The rounds were hitting the floor like the splash of a round. I just went for it, got to him, sort of shook him, and I couldn't get any response out of him.
This footage, shot at the time, shows how by now 2 Wimics, Land Rovers armed with powerful 50 caliber machine guns, had moved up to give supporting fire. If B Flight, including the wounded man Martin Beard, were to withdraw to safety, covering fire would be essential.
The lads had been engaged, and it was effective because one of the lads had gone down with a gunshot. By this point I knew it was one of my mates, so I was anxious to get up there because I knew that I had the fire support to be able to help them as well.
They were hammering the houses and the rooftops with the Wimics, the weapons-mounted Land Rovers, with a 50 cal GPMG.
We were told to engage the rooftops, and as soon as I unlocked my gun and turned it to position to be able to fire and locked it off again, I was actually hitting the chest. Body armour stopping it. But it felt like this almighty thump, and as I looked down, I just seen this like spark in my face, and it was like a flash going off, and it just knocked me out of the vehicle backwards. I managed to pick myself up, get the shock of that out of my system quickly, get back up in the vehicle, and start to engage.
He showed the true spirit of a warrior because he'd actually been hit in the chest by a bullet, so that the danger to him was absolutely clear, and yet he just put himself straight back in the firing line without a moment's hesitation. I think again he would probably say he was doing his job, but for us, I felt that really exemplified the fighting spirit of my men.
You've just got to get in there and get your job done. And my job was to provide fire support, allow the lads to get out, so that's what I did.
While the Wimics laid down withering fire, David Hayden had already shot at least 1 insurgent. Now he would carry his comrade Martin Beard out of the firing line.
I chucked him on my shoulders and I turned round and I just ran. About 200 to 250 metres straight through the middle of the contact. Rounds coming from the enemy and rounds coming from ours, to where I saw the Wimics and the Land Rovers before.
He not only was fighting the enemy, accounting for at least one of them in the process, but he also put himself right in the firing line to move across open ground, under fire, to get the man out.
When you're out there for 6 months, you're living together, eating together, you're out on patrol together, you know, everything you do is together. And when you see your mate injured, you do everything you can, even if that means risking your own life. He was like a brother. That's all I can explain it, really. You never leave a man behind. Never ever do you leave a man behind.
Under those circumstances, to do what he did was quite fantastic. It really was. I was in awe of what he achieved, as I was with all my men.
The rest of B Flight withdrew safely, but despite his comrades' efforts, Martin Beard had been fatally wounded. He was the fourth man from one squadron to die during the tour. For his bravery, David Hayden from Spalding in Lincolnshire was awarded the Military Cross, a first for a non-commissioned officer in the RAF. Ben Wharton from Daventry in Northamptonshire was mentioned in dispatches.
What I did see was both crews, 6 men in total, fighting the enemy, who were extremely close to them at one point. And of course they're in an unarmoured vehicle, and they just kept firing. I mean, it's four machine guns between the two vehicles, and they were both absolutely critical to us getting out of Al-Waki in the way that we did, because the firepower they provided was fantastic. And Ben was standing on the back of his vehicle, completely exposed, his upper body certainly, and didn't flinch for a second. Actually carried on fighting, and even when his machine gun had run out of ammunition, he just picked up his rifle and carried on fighting.
For his leadership during the 6-month tour, Jason Sutton received an OBE.